time of the year that we're on the on our calendar has a dual identity. On one hand, it's shaykh to the Shev de Nechemasa. It's the 7 weeks of cancellation that come after the Tlas de Puranusa, the 3 of calamity. That's on one hand. On the other hand, it's also the Yemei Harotzain that Moshe Rabbeinu was up there in order to receive the Luchos Shniyos. It's a time of preparation for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's a time of Cheshbon HaNefesh, a time of introspection. So Avada, it's not a coincidence that these 2 elements are interwoven to the extent that 4 and sometimes 5 of the Shev de Nechemasa are in Elul. And that needs to be explained. You know, the Maharal says, Dvarim Gedolim Einam B'mikre. It can't be a coincidence. And it needs to be explained also in how we're meant to be living this time of the year. Because you know that when we talk about Shev de Nechemasa, it's 7 haftarahs. But obviously, we don't read the haftarah in HaParsha. We read the haftarah in Yonah de Yoima, which means that it's in Yonah de Yoima. In Yonah de Yoima means that we don't just read that haftarah, but the inyan of the Yomim is cancellation. So what is the Nechama and the Cheshbon HaNefesh, the preparation for Yom Kippur? What's the connection between these 2 things? You know, on the first Shabbos of the Shev the Nechemasa and Shabbos Nachama, we always read Parshas Ve'eschanon, and it's mavur in the Rambam and in the Tur that's a minute kavua, to the extent that the reason that we read Parshas Dvarim always before Tisha B'Av is because we want to read Parshas Ve'eschanon after Tisha B'Av, as the Tur gives the siman, Tzoimu Utzlu, Tzoimu referring to the fast of Tisha B'Av, Utzlu referring to the tefillah of Ve'eschanon. So you know, in Parshas Ve'eschanon we have the Aseres HaDibros, and Al Pi Pashtus Divrei HaGemara in the end of Shorosh Nogach Esapora, the nusach of the Dibros that appears in Parshas Yisroi is what was written on the first Luchos. The nusach of the Dibros that appears in Parshas Ve'eschanon is what was written on the second Luchos. Now, the beginning of the Paranusa was the Shviras HaLuchos on Shivasa B'Tammuz, as the Mishnah says in the end of Tainus. Only afterwards was Huchpelu Boi Tzoros, as the Mishnah says, the Tzoros of the Churban, Batla Tomid V'Huf Kaha'ir, etc. So, as far as this first Puranos of Shviras HaLuchos, so after the final 40 days, we were told on Yom Kippur, Salachti Kidvarecha, and we received the second Luchos. So it seems that for that reason, immediately after the Tlos of the Pranusa, we begin the Shev de Nechemasa with the reading of the Dibros of the Luchos Shniyos, because that's the Yesod of the Nechama that's completed on Yom Kippur. And therefore, the days of Nechemasa weave together with the 40 days. Shev de Nechemta and Chadit Yufta, it's all part of the correcting of the Paranusa that began with Shviras HaLuchos on Shivasa B'Tammuz. But obviously, we still need to understand. I mean, the ikir of the Tlosa, the Pranusa, is the Huchpalu B'Tzoros, the Tzoros of the Churban. So, what does the Nechama of the Luchos Shniyos help in terms of the Tzoros of the Churban? And Be'emes, the Gemara says in Erev and Daf Nun Daled on the Pasuk Chorus al HaLuchos, al Tikri Chorus Elocheirus. And Rav Acha Bar Yankov says, "Lemolei lo nishtabru luchos ein kol ume veloshen shoyletes b'hem." So it comes out that with the Luchos Shniyos, we didn't go back to the original level of the Luchos Rishonos, and that's the Puranos of Shviras HaLuchos remained. And that's really how we got to the Huchbalu Boitzaris, to the Korban, to the Golus. So what's be'emes the connection between the Yemei HaRatzon of the Luchai Shnias with the Nechama of the Puronos of the Korban? So the truth is, we B'chal don't understand how immediately after the Tlosa, the Pronusa, we make that switch and we begin the Shev de Nechemasa. I mean, the Puronos didn't go away. I mean, it's still going on. So how and why are we all of a sudden in the Nechemasa mode? And the Inyana de Yoima of this time period is Nechemasa. You know, the Megala Amukai says that Elul is Roshei Tevis, Oroin Luchais, Veshivrei Luchais. So first of all, we would think that the Luchas Rishonis for us is like prehistoric. I mean, we're already after the Shvira of the Luchas Rishonis. We have only the Luchas Shnias. But if in Elul we're dealing with the Luchos Vishivrei Luchos, we see that first Luchos still have a presence in our spiritual life. What does that mean? You know, the Rashi Tevis, Oron, Luchos Vishivrei Luchos, is obviously based on the Gemara that says that Luchos Vishivrei Luchos Munachim Ba'oron. So the Luchos Rishonis retained Kedusha, and we have them, but we have them as broken tablets. So what does that mean? We also need to understand Bishlam of the second Luchos are shaykh to this time period, because during this time Moshe Rabbeinu was Bahar until Yom Kippur when we received the second Luchos. But how does the Shivrei Luchos have anything to do with this time period? I mean, they were already given and already broken on Shiva Asa B'Tammuz. So what do they have to do with Elul? You know, in Parshas Ba'aloisecha it says, "Vayisu mehar Hashem derech shloshos yomim, va'aroin bris Hashem noiseya lifneihem derech shloshos yomim, losur lohem menucha." So Rashi says, "Ze ha'aroin hayoytze imohem lemulchama." We're talking about the aron that they used to take to war. Uboy shivrei luchos munachim. The aron that they took to war was not the aron in which the luchos shniyos were. No, it was the aron where the shivrei luchos were. The Makar Advarim is in the Sifri, according to the Girsas Agro, it says like this: Aron zeh shenasa lefneihem hoyu by shivrei luchos. Aval aron shehoyu by haluchos, the aron that had the complete luchos, mahalach b'toich hamachanois. That was in the Machne Yisrael. That wasn't the Hoylech Lefneim. Shenemar, v'aroin bris Hashem u'Moshe loy moshu mikerev ha'machane. And so it also says in the Brais of Meleches HaMishkan, there's a shtickle stira with the Tosefta and Soita, and Tosfos in several places in Shas deals with this, but Al Kopanim, Rashi, and the Sifri according to the Girsas Agro, and the Brais of the Meleches HaMishkan, that Oren that they went out to war with was the Oren of Shivrei Luchos. Now, the fact that they took the Aron to war, the Mistama has to do with what Chazal say on the pasuk Bezois Ani Boiteach in the Medrash Tilim in Kapitel David Hashem Oiri Mizmach of Zion. It says like this: Im Tokum Alai Melchama Bezois Ani Boiteach Bezois Ein Zois Elo Torah Shenemar Bezois HaTorah Shesamosh Lefnei Bnei Yisrael, which means that what brings us victory in war is the Zois, the Torah. Bezois ani boiteach. Im tokum alay melchama bezois ani boiteach. On the pasuk in Tilim Kuf Chav Beis that says Oim dois hoyu ragleinu b'sharayich Yerushalayim. The Gemara says in Makis Daf Yud, Mi goram liragleinu sheyamdu b'melchama sharei Yerushalayim shehoyu oiskim b'Torah. Damar Reb Abba bar Kahana lamolei David. Loy asa yoyov milchama. The ksiv vayehi David oise mishpat utzedakah l'chol amoy v'Yoav ben Tzuria al hatzava. Ma tam Yoav ben Tzuria al hatzava. Molei David shoy oisek b'Torah lo yasa Yoav milchama. Aval schusay shel David oimedes loy leYoav b'milchamoisav. So since the victory in war is b'schus haTorah, we understand that the Aroin Habris was hoylech lefneim, but it's really amazing that we took dafke the Aroin of the Shivrei Luchos. I mean, it's true that even after the Luchos were broken, they still retained the residual Madrega of Kedusha. I mean, there was a Roshim of Kedusha, and that's why they needed to be housed in an Aroin. And as the Gemara says in Brachas Lavches, Hizaharu bizokein she'shochach talmudoi she'luchos v'shivrei luchos munachim ba'aroin. So even though the Zokin was shochach talmudoi machmas einsoy, he still has a Roshim of the Kedushas HaTorah, just like we see that shivrei luchos are also munachim ba'aroin. But nevertheless, I mean, Avada, the luchos that housed the full luchos that were housed in the other Aron, Avada had a greater madrega of Kedusha. So why did we take the Aron of Shivrei Luchos? And even more, I mean, the Mulchama is the Cheshas Sakana. When the Satan is Mekatrig and the Shivrei Luchos are maskir the Ovain of the Chet HaEgel, because of which they were broken, about which it says, Ubiyoim Pokti, Ufakaditi Alehem Avoinom. So how is it possible that b'shas Mulchama, when we need Rachmei Shamayim, we carry the Oren with the Shivrei Luchos, which is a reminder of the Chet HaEgel, which brought about the Shvira of the Luchos. So there's a fascinating piece in the Yismach Moshe in Parshas Eikev, and I'll present it, in the proper order, because in Shiras Dvorah, in Shoftim, it says in the Vatosha Dvorah, Barak ben Avinoyam. So it says over there like this: Yivchar Elohim Chadoshim, Oz Lochem Sha'orim, Mogein im Yeiroeh V'roimach Ba'arboim Elef MiYisrael. Okay, it's a difficult pasuk. The pasuk pshat in the pasuk is that this Elohim is Chol, and the pasuk is saying that when Klal Yisrael is Yivchar Elohim Chadoshim, when the Klal Yisrael chooses new gods, Elohim Acherim, Oz Lochem Sha'orim Lamid Chesmem, then war comes to our gates, and Mogein im Yeiroeh V'roimach. Will you even see a shield or a spear? In other words, we won't even have, the Klal Yisrael won't even have a spear or a shield to defend themselves. That's the simple reading of the pasuk. But in the Tana de Be'eliyo, Soif Perik Yud, there's a totally different pshat and a positive pshat. The Tana de Be'eliyo says B'zalosh, Ashrei mi shemischadesh dvar Torah al piv. Yeah, praiseworthy is he who is mechadesh chidushei Torah. V'chol mi shemischadesh dvar Torah al piv, doime kimi shemashmiyan oiseh min hashamayim v'omer lo. It's like a voice comes from heaven and says to him, Kach Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So said Hashem, B'nei li beis hamidrash. Build for me a beis hamidrash. Sheschar hagodel sheyesh li ba'oitzori shalchohu ubishvilcho ani matzil es Yisrael. Shenemar yivchar Eloikim chadoshim. Oz lochem sha'orim mogen im yeiroeh v'roimach ba'arboim elef miYisrael. Mikan omru arboim elef miYisrael shenitzkaptzu yachad l'mulchama. Yesh beineihem Zug echot talmidei chachamim. If there's amongst the 40,000 yid, there's one pair of talmidei chachamim. Doimek lohem kilu ochzu mogen ustris v'cherev pifiyos biyodam. Lokach nemar mogen im yeiroeh v'roimach ba'arboim elef miYisrael. According to the Tana B'Eliyahu, this Elokim is kodesh, and it's read Yivchar Elokim Chadoshim, that Hakadosh Baruch Hu chooses Chadoshim, which means Chidushei Torah. Chidushei Torah. And when there are Chidushei Torah, then Mogenim Yerov Aroimach, Barboy Melv Misrael. You won't see a spear, you won't see a shield, you won't need any spear or shield, because the Klal Yisrael will be protected in the schus of the Zuk Talmidei Chachamim. That's what the Torah B'Eliyos says. Now, the Gemara in Eruvin, in that Gemara on Daf Nun Daled, also darshans from Chorus al Haluchos al Tikri Chorus el Acherus, that Limoli loy nishtabru luchos hoyu lemedim Torah ve'enam mishachach. So we would never forget Torah. According to this, says the Yismach Moshe, so if we would have been left with a luchos rishonos, there would be no forgetfulness in Torah. There would be no room for Melchamto shel Torah. There would be no room for Chidushei Torah. Because Kol Masha Talmud Vosik Osid Lechadish was already Nitn LaMoshe Misinai. So how are we Mechadish? We're only Mechadish because there's Shechicha. If there would be no Shechicha, there would be no Chidushim. Yeah, the Gemara says in Tmura that B'yemei Evloi Shel Moshe Nishtachechu Shloishes Alofim Alochos V'echziron Osniel Ben Knaz B'Pilpuloi. So the Pilpul came about through the Shechicha. And since Yivchar Elokim Chadoshim, since HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses Chidushei Torah, and the victory in war is through Chidushei Torah Dafke, so we take the Oren with the Shivrei Luchos, L'Mulchama. And I'll read through his Lashon. He says, Cain, HaShechicha, Toiva Gedoyla. Forgetfulness in Torah is a tremendous Toiva. Shegorim Chidushim B'Yisrael. Shechaviv L'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yosem HaKol. V'im Cain Mizeh Movin, the Ha'orein im Shivrei Luchos Dafke Hoyabo, the Dafke Shivrei Luchos, Haroim Zin al Shechicha, V'gorem im HaShechicha, Hamevi Lidei Chidushei Torah, Menatzchim U'Muchama. Those Luchos are Menatzchim U'Muchama. Masha'en Ken HaLuchos HaShleimim. The Luchos HaShleimim don't have that power, says the Yismach Moshe. The Luchos Shniyos. So it comes out, the Luchos Shniyos didn't really replace the Luchos Rishonos. It's a different level. It's a lower level. The Yerushalmi in Shkolim says that if the first Luchos wouldn't have been broken, all of Torah would be B'Ksav. The whole institution of Torah Shebal Peh is based on Luchos Shniyos, which the Medrash in Parshas Kisisa uses the pasuk Vayaged L'chot Ta'alumois Chochma Ki Kiflayim Litushia. That talks about the Luchos Shniyos, which were given in a way of Ta'alumois Chochma, that the concealed Chochma. In other words, the Chochma that needs to be revealed through the Torah Shebal Peh, and that's Kiflayim L'tushia. So on one hand, the Luchos Rishonos were not replaced. It's Shivrei Luchos. The Luchos Shniyos are a lower level, but that lower level gives us an opportunity to be Megala, the Ta'alumois Chochma, with our own effort. So from the Elul until Yom Kippur, we're preparing for the Luchos Shniyos with the understanding that the Shvira of Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, which is the aside of all the Puranas, is to give us an opportunity to serve with our own effort. And we are in charge of the correction. We didn't get the same Luchos once again. We are in charge of the Chidushei Torah, which comes through the Ta'alumois Chochma. Ani L'doidi V'doidi Li, says the Abu Draham, is Roshei Tevis Elul. But this is in Kapitel Vav in Shir HaShirim. In Kapitel Beis, there's a pasuk that says Doidi Li V'ani Loi. Doidi Li V'ani Loi is the Isarusa de la Eila, the awakening from above that precedes the Isarusa de la Sato, the awakening from below. In other words, Doidi Li, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is to us, V'ani Loi. Whereas in Kapitel Vav, it's changed to Ani L'doidi, V'doidi Li. We come first, he comes second. So, L'chatchila, B'shas Yitzias Mitzrayim, it was V'at Ereim Ve'erya, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out, and he gave us Matan Torah in the first edition, so to speak. The Luchas Rishonos, that was the Madrega of Doidi Li. Vani Loi, we were just responding to a Gilui from above. Whereas after the Shvira, the Chodesh of Elul until Yom Kippur is the time of Ani ledoidi v'doidi li. This is the Torah where the awakening is from beneath. So the Huchbalu Baitzaris, the Churbanos that came after Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, the Shviras Haluchas, they Avada caused even a greater Shichach of Torah. Like the Gemara says in Chagigah on the pasuk Malka v'sareha bagoyim ein Torah kivin shegolu Yisrael mimkoimam ein lecha bittul Torah gadol mizeh. But as we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mimake atzma mesakein ritiya, that the Makkah itself is the side of the healing, which means through the Shichacha, which was the Makkah, we come to a ribui of Chidushei Torah and Pilpula Da'iraisa. And that's really the Nechama of Zois Nechemasi Ba'onyi Ki Imroscha Chi Yosni. Zois is again that Zois of Bezois Ani Boiter, the Zois of Torah, and the Zois is Nechemasi. So the Nechama of the Shevda Nechemasa begins with the Dibris of Pashas V'eschana, the Luchashnias, which gave us the opportunity to correct it on our own. And so the Shevda Nechemasa are interwoven with the Yemei Haratzin, which are the Hachana to Yom Kippur Luchashnias, but with our understanding that Luchais Veshivrei Luchais Monachim Ba'aron, meaning that we didn't get rid of those first Luchais because the second Luchais didn't replace them. And therefore, the second Luchais and the first Luchais are both present, because the second Luchas is a different Madrega. And it's our work to find everything that was in the first Luchas in the second Luchas. That's the Avoida of Torah Shebal Peh, and that's the Meshachar Beis HaMikdash Ein Lo LaKadosh Baruch Hu Elo Ba'iloma Yeladal Dam Shel Halacha. That's where the constellation is. Now, in this context, I want to read to you something fascinating in the Riyares Dvash, Drush Daled, where he says, but be patient. He says like this: Umaysa olam tzoichekim aleinu. Ba'imram, yeah, the Umaysa olam, they laugh at us. They say, "B'bayis rishon she'avartem al pi Hashem l'royu, hoysa golus shelachem shivim shana. The kaeis asher b'bayis sheni loy nimtze b'roiv hakol avlo gedoylo v'roiv mehameri." Seems like the Goyish historians knew exactly the Madrega of Yidden during the Bayis Rishon and during the Bayis Sheni, and they say that in Bayis Sheni we didn't sin on the same level as in Bayis Rishon. And nevertheless, those great sins of the Bayis Rishon only brought about a golus of 70 years, whereas the lesser sins of the Bayis Sheni brought about a golus that we see no end to. So that's why the Umas Ha'olam Atzoich Hakim Oleinu. So he says, Avol kvar mavur b'chol mikrois Tanach, ki geula b'bayis sheni hoysa rak pekide, aval arichus hagolus hazois kvar nechtam oleinu begolus bayis rishon, l'sibas hameri v'apshoim mibayis rishon, ki mavur b'teichachas Moshe, kasher yochiach haramban mikama psukim yoylech Hashem oysam v'esmalkecho, umin ve'shivcha Hashem Mitzrayim ba'aniyis. Anyway, what he's saying is, and this is in Drush Daled in the Yaris Dvash, you can look it up, he's saying that the curses that appear in the Torah, some of those curses only played out after the second Churban. So it must be that the Binyan Bayis Sheni was just for a limited time. We haven't yet atoned for the sins of the Bayis Rishon, and it was l'chatchila meant to be only for a limited time, and that then we should go back into Golus in order to atone for the sins of the Bayis Rishon. He says like this. He says, "Ma hefsek zeh meshamish lifkoi toich shivim shana v'achkach legloisem." What's the idea of bringing them back and sending them back out? Halo yoyse nochen shetia hagolus b'li hefsek ad yirachem Hashem amoy. Aval chaste Hashem ki lo yisomu v'lo yicholu rachamo. Ki hivtiach oisonu lebal tishtakeach toiras Elokeinu mikirbeinu, ki hi shleimus nafsheinu. Ukvar noida, ki begolus bayis rishon leroiv azivas haTorah, ulemiut takonos ugdorim misanhedrin, shehoyu bebayis rishon, kemat nishkecha haTorah mehamayne ha'am. So during the 70 years of Golus Bavel, Torah was almost forgotten completely. Ubeshuva min hagoyla lo yodu mi mitzvah sukkah, umishmiras Shabbos shi chamishis la'aseres adibris, v'yisarvu begoye harotzis, v'lo yodu iser chitten, ubefratim amaynu moyav k'mavur benechemia. V'ilu hismid ha'inyin, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have left them in Golus, oid meya, oid masayim shona, v'kora lonu ha'nigzar me'es Hashem roiv shmodes v'oitzim ha'tiltel, and those curses of Parshas Bechukoisai would happen in that time. Hoysen ishkachas haTorah mikol v'chol mibli zeicher klal. V'im kein hoya chas v'sholom ovda sikva seinu. V'hasichiena atzomais hayaveshos k'she'ein imon Torah u'mitzvos Hashem. V'lozois Hashem choyshev machshavos lebilti yidach nidach mitorosoi kasher hivtiach lonu. Kervonu lefkudosoi b'soif shivim shona la'eretz Yisrael. Voidenu choresh umazger elef neviim kayomim. Asher heim mosru adav leknesses hagdolim. V'chein b'bayis robu hamalamdim Torah b'rabim. So really, during the time of Bayis Sheni was when Torah Sheba'al Peh developed, as we know. That's the tkufa of the Mishnah. V'godru geder usyogim u'mishmores. V'kohen ha'rabbis asher yad Hashem aleim hiskil leval tishtakeach haTorah. V'kashashia rochachmosei ha'elyoina. Ki kvar nasa hatikun leval yi yashichach haTorah golo oisonu shenis mal pnei ha'adama avur chatas u'meri bayis harishon. U'baruch shemoi asher einenu royos ki b'avoneseinu harabim hayoim begoylo yosim me'elef v'tofrei shona. Yeah, with over more than 1,600 years in Golus. Lo shachachnu mitzvos Hashem, digdukei soifrim, v'chumri digoinim, v'akol michesed Hashem v'tuvei aleinu. So anyway, he says the whole idea of the Bayis Sheni was just in order that Torah Sheba'al Peh should be developed, because with Torah Sheba'al Peh being developed, we'll be able to hold on to our identity throughout the long Golus that we have to go through in order to atone for the sins of the Bayis Rishon. And so therefore, after 70 years, there was a pkida to bring us back to Eretz Yisrael in order that the Torah Sheba'al Peh be developed. So the pshat is like this. So really, the Jewish survival is really all about Torah. Yeah, the nechama of the Shevda Nechemasa is all about the fact that in spite of the Churban, Torah is still learned, and it's not only in spite of the Churban, but in a sense it's because of the Churban. And what do I mean because of the Churban? Because the Churban brings the Shechicha, which is Marbe the Chidushei Torah, as the Yismach Moshe says, that's really the Ikar Koyach of Yidden, is Yivchar Elokim Chadoshim, Oz Lochem She'orim. So anyway, every Blad Gemara that we learn, right, is contributing to this thing, and the Eibush is the whole from that we should understand the value. We should understand the value of what we do, and we should do it, and we should be zeicher to ksiva v'chsima tova. A good gebenst